Hello, everyone. I wanted to share some options for building a income portfolio in retirement or near retirement, or if people in general just want to build an income portfolio for themselves. Now, the goals here with an income portfolio is you never take from the principal and you let that grow, and you only take the dividends and interest it pays you, right? So we're looking for, kind of in my analysis here, my examples, I'm looking for a portfolio that can maybe pay 3.5% to 4%. That seems to be the standard. Hey, that's pretty good if you could get that and never touch your principal. It should keep up with inflation, and it should be relatively safe. And I mean safe as the income piece should be relatively safe. So let's dive right in and we will see what we have here. So first option is treasuries. Of course, I like treasuries. I like CDs. I like the safest fixed income option you have. If you want a lot of risk, if you want risk and looking for something that can produce higher yields, you do that through equities, right? If you buy corporate bonds, it's paying you whatever this rate is. And then it's also paying you, but it's compensating you for the risk of that corporation going bankrupt or whatever, right? If I wanted corporate risk, I would do it in the stock market, right? Okay, so that's why I like treasuries, CDs for the fixed income piece. Here, we can look at the yield curve. We know 10 years are paying 4.25%, and the 1 year is paying 5.4%, excuse me. So anywhere in there looks like decent options right now for an income portfolio. You could build a ladder where you buy a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, so on. So you have kind of a spread of interest rates, and it's not all coming due at once. You could buy a bunch at 3 and a bunch at 7. There's different options here. I wouldn't go past 10 years because I don't think long term you want to be stuck for that long. But in here it looks great, right? I mean, even if you just did 1 to 5 years, that's not bad, providing you great safety here, right? Backed by the US government or backed by the FDIC guaranteed if you're doing CDs, and paying you a good rate, right? So you're going to have at the end of the year, say you put your million in there. Now, I don't recommend putting all million into one asset class, but say you did, you're getting at the 5 year 43,000 a year, right? Complement that with Social Security and pension, you're looking pretty good. Now, the one downside is this does not adjust for inflation, like maybe equities that we'll get to next can do, but extremely safe option. And right now, I think some part of your portfolio, if you're a typical retiree out there, that can provide a lot of safety and pretty good return right now, pretty good interest payments. Next on the we're going lowest risk to highest risk. Next, in my opinion, would be a utilities sector ETF. So this is a ETF or mutual fund that tracks the utility sectors of the U.S., right? Natural gas, electric producers, right? In my area, it's DT and Consumers Energy. But there's tons all over the place, right? And I think they pick somewhere in like 20 to 30 of them that are in the S&P 500, and they invest in those for you. We have super low expense ratio. That's why I like this. All these equity funds I'm going to show you are going to be extremely low expense ratios, and they're going to be well diversified. And that's why I recommend doing that over picking your own stocks. I'd rather have 30 companies and the simplicity of having to buy one fund than having to go out there and buy 30 stocks and take all the different dividends and different things like that, right? So, and there's also this is XLU right here. There's a ton of them that track utilities market. So you can pick from a lot of them, right? But this is the stand-in right now, so I can pull some data and we can look at how it did. And let's see what it's paying right now. It's paying 3.35 right here. Okay. Let's take a look at Portfolio Visualizer, which anyone can take a look at here. I'm going to put in XLU, 100% of my portfolio, just so I can see. I want to see how the stock went up and down. And you're like, wait, this is high risk. What are you talking about? No, take a look at this. So I have it reinvesting dividends, no, and I have display income. So it's made you 3% over this time period every year on average, right? So it's kept up with inflation, and we're pulling out the dividends. So let's take a look at the dividends here. There is a slight hiccup early 2000s. Not sure if that really had to do with Enron or what there, but there is a slight, there's a slight peak and then it comes back down. But on average, though, it's pretty good. Did take a little bit of a dip in 03, okay? But it's been pretty consistent since. Where's 08? 08, it does take a little dip. You lose $8. That's got to be like 1% or something. $8, that's like 2%. Okay, so that's fine, right? But look at this. Look at how nice. What I really key is zoom in on these recessions here. 08, that's nice. That's nice. I mean, to me, that's stable. That's as stable as it gets, right? Unless you're going fixed income, but we know fixed income can't keep up with inflation that well. So that's why sometimes we need these pieces in our portfolio. And in 01, it did get actually hit a little worse actually in 01, which is surprising. But since has been great, right? So we want to focus on the income piece. So we like this that's nice and stable. Next one, another sector of the US economy. So the S&P 500 sector that covers consumer staples goods. So what is that? Let's go to holdings here. Procter & Gamble, Costco, Pepsi, Coke, Walmart, Target, Colgate, right? Some smoking guys. And then there's about 15 more that have smaller weightings than this. But these are the big ones, right? So you can get what we're looking at. You're looking at companies that are super stable, recession, no recession, whatever it is, people have to go and shop there, right? A little more risk possibly than utilities, but it still does really well in recessions, and I'll show you that, right? Low expense ratio. Dividends are lower, though. That's one key here. Dividend is only at 2.6%. So obviously we can't put 100% of our money in because we would not have the yield we need. But I think that is a piece of the portfolio personally, or that's at least an option you can take a look at. Let me go look at Portfolio Visualizer. Let's go up here. Let's take a look at XLP and see how they did through recessions, which is possibly right. They have probably a little more market volatility here. But let's take a look at income. Okay, so do we have any dips here? We do have a slight dip in 03, 02. Okay, but it's small, right? It's percentage points. Really nice. Where's 08? Doesn't even take a dip in 08. That's amazing. That's great. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to happen in the future, but I like this a lot. A little dip here, very interesting. So, but that's nice, right? This looks really smooth. Maybe the most it dipped. I mean, didn't dip in 08. What more do you need to look at? Did dip a little bit here. What's that? 132, 131 over 141. Oh, geez. 131 divided by 141. Oops. So yeah, it was 93% of what it was originally. So it dropped 7%. Okay, whatever. That's the point of this portfolio is completely guaranteed. You got to go fixed income, or you have to go income annuity, or Social Security, things like that. But if this piece of your income only, fluctuates a little bit, right? Not like half. It can't cut in half, obviously, but if it can fluctuate a little bit and we have much better upside return. So it's been paying out good, consistent dividends, and it's making you 4%. Top of that, or excuse me, I don't know what it'll do in the future. So it's making you maybe 1.5% over inflation. Great. Okay. So we want things that can pay us a good rate and keep up with inflation and pay maybe a little more, right? So our dividend keeps growing. But I mean, you can look at how the dividends have doubled in this time period, right? Okay. On to the next one. A little more risk, I believe, is these income and growth dividends that are looking to build high dividend yield, right? They're looking to build a portfolio of companies for you that pay you higher than average dividends, typically have decent financial health, maybe not as good of long-term growth rates, but can still pay a decent amount, right? And these funds, a little more volatile during '08, I'll show you, but they get to invest in every single sector of the economy. So it gives you amazing diversification, right? Okay, so you do have some utilities and some consumer staples here, but you do have some other stuff: financials, healthcare, industrials. One key thing about these types of funds, which I have VYM here, which is a Vanguard one, I have HDV, and I have SEHD, or I don't have SEHD up, but this one I'm actually going to talk about later and why maybe to watch out for this. But these are all different funds. You can look them up, right? And there's a bunch of different ones, and they all do slightly different things, but their goal is, maybe produce 3 to 4.5% dividends, and also have a little bit of growth on the side. So let's take a look at this. Why I show VYM is because VYM went through '08. SEHD did not. A lot of these other ones did not. So VYM is our go-to to see how it did through a big recession. That's what I like to look at. So let's take a look at income. So a decent drop here. Let's see, 211 over 279. 211 divided by 279 here. We got a drop of 25%. So more risk, right? Because as we've gone, I think utilities dropped, what, 4%, XL, consumer staples was 7. This is 25, 24, 25%. Let's round it up to 25%. In the worst crash that we've ever experienced. Who knows if we'll experience again, but there you go, 25%. I like knowing that my dividend would only be cut by 25% in a crazy downturn. Look, it's up. 4 years later, it's up in 2012. So that's nice. I like that. Obviously, this is a good market, so obviously it's going to go up it's going to do really well. But look at how it handles a recession. That's what I really like. On top of that, it's giving you about 4.5%, so maybe 2% over inflation percentage, 1.5% over inflation. But we're not taking from principal, and we're getting a decent return. Excuse me, I haven't showed you what these guys are paying. They're all different based on the fund. But this one is yielding. It was up here 3.2%. It doesn't actually show the dividend yield, but it should be maybe a little lower than 3.2. I thought 3.06, 3.1, something like that. So not near that 4%, but good, and it has good long-term growth track record. See, look at this. So the fund dropped 50%, right? The fund dropped 50%, right? And you'd be like, oh, that's horrible. But the dividends only dropped 25%. So that's why I think these dividend income portfolios have probably a lot of benefits to them for peace of mind, stable income that people don't really realize, right? When you say, okay, the market dropped 50%, but my dividends only dropped 25, worst case scenario, right? We can de-risk it by using some other funds that have less risk, maybe less upside, but less risk. And then, when you blend it together, you might only have a 10%, 12% drop in dividend. I like that. Let's take a look at HDV. It's a little different. It has a little less performance over this, right? They got 8.1%. Here we're at 10, so it's a little lower of performance, right? Return, good expense ratio still. And what's its strategy? 75 dividend paying domestic stocks that have been screened for financial health. So you probably want to find a fund that does some sort of screening, right, to make sure they're profitable companies or they've kept paying dividends for so long, things like that. That'll say that. Let's see. Dividend is a nice, though, 4%. That's the trailing yield. The expected future yield is a little under 4. So that's one benefit of some of these funds that reach for yield, right? I don't know how this did during 08. So I don't know. I like, this one pays 3.2, but I know how it did through 08. And what you'll see for a lot of these is the more yield it tries to produce you in dividends, the lower the long-term growth rate. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at something that pays a really high dividend. Its long-term growth rate is probably lower because of that, right? SEHD is another one. Hasn't been through 08, but that's definitely the golden child right now because it has had great dividend yields and great returns. Let's take a look yet again. This one's going to invest in every sector here. Does it have real estate? It does not. Okay. And check out to see if your fund has real estate, if you want real estate exposure or not. Because some of these will exclude real estate on purpose. So this one does not. This is big on energy and healthcare right now. But you can see you still got consumer staples. Utilities are in there. Okay. Fixed income. I like CDs. I like treasuries because I like not having corporate risk. I like just getting the yield and knowing it's practically guaranteed, right? Utilities, one risk factor up from there. There's tons of funds you can pick. Basically keeps up with inflation, maybe gives you a little bit, but gives you a pretty secure dividend. This consumer staple is very similar, keeps up with inflation, gives you stable dividend, lower dividend though. Okay. So that can be an issue, but it keeps up with inflation a little better than utilities does, right? And then obviously treasuries don't keep up with inflation. They just pay you paying you this income. These guys, VYM, HDV, all these other ones that are giving you dividend growth, they can invest in more companies because they're not restrained by a sector. So that's nice. Have a little more volatility, right? We said VYM dropped 25% during 08, 25% drop in the dividend, which for 08, that's probably something you're willing to take, especially if this isn't your whole portfolio. But let's take a look let's test some of these out, right? So we know, some sample portfolios, I mean, simply could be 25%, maybe 50% fixed income, 25 to 50% fixed income right now because rates are good. When rates go down, probably have to shy away from them a little more, but depending on your risk tolerance, you want to stay more towards the left side, right? Treasury, utilities, consumer staples. If you want a little more risk, you can go over here and maybe some more long-term growth. I don't think it would be unreasonable if you went 50% fixed income right now and you locked in some 3, 5, 7-year bonds paying you 4.35 maybe. Or if you need some more yield, 4.68. You got utilities paying you 3.35. You got consumer staples paying you 2.6. So that's going to average out. Let's say that's 3%. Then you mix in some, say you go 50-50, you mix in something that's paying 4.6, blended with 3%. That's what, 3.6? Am I doing math right? Yeah, 3.75, something like that, right? So that's not a bad yield. 4.68 plus, what did I say, 3 divided by 2. There we go. 3.84 you can take out of your portfolio. So if you have $1 million, 38,000 you can take out, add that to your Social Security, your pension, you're not doing bad, right? If you want to stretch for some long-term growth, you could probably add in some of these guys over here on this side. It wouldn't probably be that bad if you did 25% fixed income, 25 here, 25 here, 25 here. In one of these guys, maybe you go HDV because you want a little more yield and you're not worried about long-term growth as much. Because it still has probably more stable income. You probably don't want to be all in on one guy here. And always keep in mind when you're building your portfolio is the stability of the income. When you're talking about these equities, it's okay that the value of the fund, I mean, it's not the best, but the value of the fund goes up or down a little bit. But We really want to make sure that income piece is secure. So that's all I got. I've probably taken up way too much time. If you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to help out. If you're in the state of Michigan, I can help you out personally as I'm a financial advisor. But take care, everyone.